Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is having a great day as now we're into October, into the fall, and you're starting feeling a little chilly at times. And just think when it was going early spring, when it was 60 degrees, we were saying how warm it felt, and now it's 60 degrees, and we're like, oh man, it's starting to get a little chilly. So this is the teaser video for my sermon that's going to be on October 18th. And October 18th, the title of my sermon is Sola Scriptura. And I'm going to be reading from Revelations chapter 22, 18 through 21. And it's actually the last four verses in the Bible. So if you're trying to figure out how to quickly get to it, just go to the last four verses in the Bible. But Sola Scriptura is definitely our denomination's belief. It's basically saying we are Scripture alone. We believe in that we can find our instructions, how to raise our children, how to live our lives, how to be like Jesus. All that can be found in Scripture. But I'm also going to be pointing out, some of the discussions you may have with friends and family or people from different denominations, and you guys are you're talking Scripture or different things that you think are holy, and you get in discussions and somebody quotes something and you're like, man, I thought I knew the Bible pretty well, and you don't recognize what they quoted, and that may not be a knock on your knowledge of the Bible. It may be they're quoting something that their denomination or their faith determines as holy, and it may not actually be in the Bible. I've had these type of conversations and discussions with a few different people. And so some of the times when you have to have discussions, we need to understand a little bit how our faith or our denomination may be different than others. We'll mention a little bit about the Catholic Church and how they have the Apocrypha, which is 5 other books, and also how they believe oral tradition they keep that on the same level as Scripture. So something that's been passed down through the centuries via oral tradition, they see that as holy and as on par with Scripture. If you're talking to somebody from a different faith background, Islam has the Quran, the Book of Mormon for Mormons. We'll also be talking a little bit about creeds and how different denominations, some will see creeds as something as important or even maybe just as important as the Bible. While our denomination, again, we see creeds as more of a historical or an educational benefit, but we don't hold it as the same level as Scripture. We don't believe in the statement of faith. So when we talk about, when people read the creeds as a statement of faith, our denomination truly doesn't believe in the statement of faith. We are solely Scripture. We believe what the Bible has to say, and that's our foundation. Now, it's interesting as we talk about different denominations. In the end, I will poke a little bit of fun at our own denomination, and I'll save that for on Sunday. I don't want to give that out ahead of time, but just some of the things that we'll be discussing and talking. It may help if you get in some of those deep conversations with someone who they have other things that they have on the same level as the Holy Scriptures. Again, if it's oral tradition, if it's just something that continues to be passed down. There are some very liturgical churches, and those traditions are very important. If you look at our 2 services, there's the first service obviously has a more liturgical feel or a more formal feel than the second service. Does that make one service better than the other, or is one service wrong or the other one right? It doesn't, because we're still preaching from the same Scripture. We're still teaching the same lesson, and we still have the Bible as the same foundation. Just because one wants to, sing the older hymns and sing with an organ and a clavinova, and another one listens to praise bands with some different colored lights and a little bit of smoke here, and wants to be a little louder about their worship and praise. They're not differences when we're talking about the foundation of the beliefs and the faith. And as the pastor who's preaching the same sermon to both services, I'm preaching from the same foundation. But we need to understand that when you are talking to people from different religions, or maybe someone who grew up one religion and then they stopped or whatever. I learned a lot about the Apocrypha from friends of mine who grew up Catholic and then converted or changed to Protestant to become Protestants, or I have a real good friend who's a pastor friend of mine in our denomination who grew up Catholic. So I usually talk to him when I need to understand more about some of the things that Catholics believe versus what we believe, and and how it was taught. And when we look at it, our foundation of Sola Scriptura, we believe that the people need to read the Bible. We encourage everyone to read the Bible. You need to understand it to learn the lessons that God is teaching us. And there's some denominations, they don't want their people to read the Bible, that only the religious leaders are the ones who can read it and interpret it and be able to preach it and explain it. So again, these are just some of the things that changes some of the differences between denominations. And this is by far not a sermon comparing denominations. It's more talking about what we believe. But you need to understand some of the differences, because when you have those conversations with someone, you don't want to turn them off by just immediately telling somebody they're wrong. You want to be able to understand where they're coming from and be able to have those conversations and say, our church, we only look at the Bible as a basis. So the fact that you're referring to something like the Apocrypha or some other oral tradition or whatever that may be, you can say that's just something we don't keep on that same level, and thus our difference of why you find that so important and we do not. So I think it can be an interesting lesson. Hopefully, you will too, and I look forward to seeing everyone again. Again, this is for Sunday, October 18th. Take care.